Exactly 10 minutes after 8, and you are listening to Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. I am Annie Abdul Salam, welcoming you to yet another beautiful day. It's the 30th day of April, 2020. Someone says April is over, no new catastrophe. Is 2020 trying to be nice now? Well, I think so. I think 2020 has had a feel of being nasty and has decided, you know what, let me give the people of the world a little slack. And I don't think we'll be hearing of anything catastrophic again going forward. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, touching wood, and hoping that that is what we'll be saying by the time we get to December. But today's the last day of April, and I hope that... I usually would say I hope you are able to achieve your desires for the month. And I'm thinking that with all the lockdowns and quarantines and isolation and social distancing that we must have engaged in during the month of April, were people able to meet their targets? Maybe not. But I believe that quite a number also did. You know, the people who, regardless the situation, will find a way, will maneuver their way through and get to it. Those people are just resilient. And I hope that you will dig into your inner resilience. So whatever challenges may be thrown your way going forward, you might just find a way to hit your target. Any which way is good for you. You're still here with me. Let's move on to the newspaper review. That's the next segment here. We're looking at captions from the dailies this morning. And we'll start with the Vanguard newspaper. COVID-19, no respect of persons, says Governor El-Rufai. He should know, right? Unfortunately, he has been a victim of COVID-19. He was positive at some point, so he should know. COVID-19, no respecter of any person or respect of persons. And then you also have in the Vanguard newspaper, 850 billion naira loan approval. PDP wants NAS to ensure prudent use and prompt payment. 850 billion naira loan approval. PDP wants NAS to ensure prudent use and prompt payment. Also in the Vanguard this morning, COVID-19 panic grips residents where, I think that's for Tinubu. Panic grips residents where Tinubu's dead CSO lived. Panic grips residents where Tinubu's dead CSO lived. All right. And I've heard of about 2 aides, close aides to Tinubu had come down with COVID-19. Of course, the fear for quite a number of people was that, well, these are rather very close aides to Tinubu. This is a lot of prayers going out that, well, he hasn't contacted it. But I think since it's rather quiet from his end, we can be sure that he's safe. We'll also have here, BUA releases funds to various COVID-19 interventions. BUA releases funds to various COVID-19 interventions. And also in the Vanguard this morning, headsmen operate from 30 camps in Delta Forest. Headsmen operate in 30 forests or 30 camps in Delta Forest. And then you also have USA's Remdesivir shows clear-cut effect in treating coronavirus. USA's Remdesivir shows clear-cut effect in treating coronavirus. You get that story also in the Vanguard newspaper. That's, for me, a lot of light in this very dark tunnel. Federal government disburses 43.416 billion to 24 states under SFTAS. Federal government disburses 43.416 billion naira to 24 states under SFTAS. And then COVID-19 economy reopens over 6 weeks. This is what the federal government is saying. Economy reopens over 6 weeks. Federal government, you get that story in the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Chidoka says appointment of Northerners as chairman, secretary negates federal character for the FCC. Appointments of Northerners as chairman. Secretary negates federal character. Chidoka is the one speaking. That you find that also in the Vanguard newspaper. And then Fowler writes Boss Mustafa for reappointment before replacement. Unfortunately, we know what happened. Fowler didn't get that job back. Then 1.6 billion jobs at risk over COVID-19. ILO warns. 1.6 billion jobs at risk over COVID-19. ILO warns. And then you have presidency warns against politicizing Kanu's strange illness. Who's politicizing it? President warns against politicizing Kanu's strange disease. That's also in the Vanguard newspaper this morning. All right. Trump says he will resume traveling next week. Trump is very optimistic. Well, now that they also have some drug that is showing clear-cut effect in the treatment of COVID-19, that's remdesivir. You might as well just jump on the next plane and be up and about. That story is in the Vanguard newspaper. So let's get to the stories proper. Now, Emmanuel, good morning. Good to have you here with me.
Good morning, Annie. Good morning, Nigeria.
COVID-19, no respect of persons. In case you doubted, this is what Governor El-Rufai has come to tell you this morning. COVID-19, no respecter of persons. Governor El-Rufai, he says, I could have died. I obeyed my doctors. Governor Nasser El-Rufai of Kaduna State has warned that coronavirus was not a friend to anybody and could strike where it was least expected. Speaking in a radio Hausa program monitored by journalists in Kaduna yesterday, the governor said, despite the security paraphernalia around me, I got the virus. This goes to show that the virus does not recognize any personality. On why he returned to his clean-shaved looks, he said, I am truly aging. I'm a few steps above 60, and this disease is not kind to the old. I am old, that is the danger. If anyone is above 50, one should be very careful not to contract the disease or contract the virus. To an aged person with other health complications like diabetes, hypertension, coronavirus will be very deadly. When I came out of isolation, I intended to leave my beard because it was the tradition of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. But I visited my mother to greet her, and she was against my new look. She asked me to shave. According to her, my father was not bearded during his lifetime. I had no option but to shave my beard because I want to live peacefully with my mother. Commenting on his traumatic experience while in isolation, El-Rufai said, I could have died if not for my doctors. I followed the instructions strictly and took my medications. My wives collaborated with Dr. Hadiza, the deputy governor, and seized my phones while in isolation. I was left only with an iPad, the device I used to read and go online. I can't exactly say how I contracted the coronavirus, but I was in Abuja and had interacted with many people, some from overseas. I was assigned to chair committees by the government. I believe it was from these interactions I got the virus. It is a good coincidence that we have Dr. Hadiza as our deputy governor and Dr. Baloni, who is with UNICEF for over 20 years and knows much about public health. We are glad and lucky to have them, especially during this pandemic. He warned the public, particularly some recalcitrant traders in the state. The governor will deal decisively with anyone who attempts to derail measures put in place to contain the spread of coronavirus. I think anybody who thinks that the COVID-19 is a respect of persons by now, as we are now, perhaps doesn't have the right information, because we've seen this cut across length and breadth, back and forth, all structures of life.
Well, I think El-Rufai is speaking from experience. You can't speak better than him.
Nope.
Yeah, he has it up and down. So he is advising, especially the aged or those who are entering into the circle of age, because it's especially with other complications. Now it runs riot.
He did mention that.
Yes.
And so, the older you are,
now, the more maybe susceptible.
Deadlier it is to you, yes.
So I think his advice should be heeded. The other one of shaving beard and all the rest.
But that was just, because he was always been a clean-shaved person. And the first few pictures that emerged of him after isolation saw him have what is called a goatee. And a lot of people were like, oh, we like this look, we don't like that look. But his mother finally put the cap to that.
Yes.
She didn't like it.
I don't like it, even though my own won't count.
What? Of course yours will count. All right, then. Why don't you like it?
No, I don't like that. You have to look like a human, not a goat.
So... Mark Milcott. So for all you out there, sir, all of you out there that have goatees, Emmanuel said, try look like a human. All right, then. 850 billion naira loan approval. PDP wants NAS to ensure prudent use and prompt payment. People's Democratic Party, PDP, has called on the National Assembly to ensure the prudent use of 850 billion naira loan it approved for the federal government on Tuesday. The party, in a statement issued by its National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Kolo Logbondiyan, in Abuja, also advised the presiding officers of the state to ensure prompt repayment of the loan. Logbondiyan expressed concerns over what he describes as hasty approval of the 850 billion naira loan as requested by President Muhammadu Buhari. He said that the party was concerned that in spite of the huge natural and human resources at the disposal of the country, government was still accumulating loans without repayment plans. Logbondiyan also expressed worry over the transparency and management of the country's loans. The PDP therefore charges the Senate presiding officers to note that in approving this loan, the nation holds them responsible to ensure strict oversight monitoring of the handling of the money. This is especially as it is being sourced from the capital market, which hosts investments by private individuals and firms. The Senate must ensure judicious use of the funds as well as prompt repayment. This is because our nation cannot afford any default. As such, it's capable of crippling the capital market and worsening the economic hardship already faced by Nigerians. Well, he says you approved, and you approved too hastily as far as we're concerned. But now that you've approved, make sure that it is used judiciously and that there is a repayment plan.
It seems so hasty, no doubt about it. They just resumed.
Just to do that, open that day and then...
They approved that and they've shut down again.
Oh, it came for that purpose.
So I think it's hasty, like Olobodiya said. And I also agree with him, even though some people may share different thoughts. I agree with him that they should indeed open their eyes, as it were, and follow the spending, the utilization of that particular fund. Let it go to where it was borrowed for. It's not this thing of after you borrow 20 million, you wouldn't know exactly how 20 million eventually was used. So let them follow, because you see, if they keep tabs on federal government spending, it will make whoever is responsible knowing that the hammer from the legislators could fall on him by way of exposing him. Then we'll spend it more prudently and, of course, at the right place.
All right, then. But, I think that in seeking for the loan, the government must have also put back a repayment plan. I mean,
good.
Who seeks for a loan without the repayment plan?
The Olomodiye's angle, I think he has also played politics there by saying with no repayment plans. No.
They should come and give us 850.
Yeah, whether they will eventually follow the repayment plans or not. I believe such plans are drawn. They have them. Much as if PDP were in power, they would have also drawn their own. But will they ever follow it? That is another discussion.
All right, then. Let's move on to another story in the Vanguard newspaper. COVID-19 panic grips residents where Tinubu's dead CSO lived. Following the public announcement by the All Progressives Congress APC national leader, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, that his chief of staff, assistant superintendent of police, ASP Lateef Rahim, died of COVID-19 complications, there has been serious panic among the residents of Maplewood Estate, Lagos Island, where the deceased lived until his death. Tinubu had on Monday, through a statement by his media aide, Mr. Tunde Ramon, confirmed that Rahim died of COVID-19 complications aside from his underlying diseases like high blood pressure and diabetes. Consequently, a concerned resident identified as Jumaa Abiodun, a social commentator, political analyst, and journalist based in Lagos, raised the alarm among residents in an open letter to COVID-19 incident commander, Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, on the need to act fast over Tinubu's CSO's death. Abiodun, in the letter made available to Vanguard, urged Sanwo-Olu to save the residents of the estate as well as members of the public. Abiodun, who commended Sanwo-Olu and his team for the efforts to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in the state, said to curb the spread of the novel coronavirus in the state, you have serious work ahead to do, Mr. Governor. Let me get straight to the point and set the record straight. I don't know if you're aware of ASP Latif Rahim's death, but I'm sure he should be well known to you and some of your associates. Rahim was the former CSO to the All Progressives Congress APC national leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. 5 days ago, Rahim died before he was taken to the hospital and was returned back home for burial that same day. I think you know what it takes to bury somebody in an Islamic way. This includes, he mentioned something there Islamically, I don't know how to pronounce that, is a full body ritual purification performed on dead Muslims, as well as spraying with perfumes. My sources disclosed to me that over 50, I repeat, over 50 police officers were there at his Maplewood Estate residence on Friday, 24th April 2020, till he was buried. Islamic clerics, politicians, family members, sycophants, among others, were all there. I'm not a doctor, but here's my advice to you and your team, Mr. Governor. Urgent contact tracing of his wife, children, and other members of his family that live in that house, politicians who visited the deceased family before and after his burial, Islamic clerics who prayed and interred the body, all senior and junior police officers that entered the premises, family members and sycophants who visited the house. Disinfecting the house, if possible, by extension, the two houses on the left and right of his building. A source who didn't want her name mentioned said there's serious panic among residents of Maplewood.
There should be. There should be, certainly. And I think the advice
Very
of
rightly
this particular author should be adhered to immediately. They should heed to it because, you see, 50 police officers and in the over 50. And in the Islamic, those who did everything, every ritual,
the handling of the
him,
body and all of that. So
I think they should do very serious contact tracing.
And
that's what they should do, even his family, to start with.
My fear or my question here was, at what point did they realize he had COVID-19? After his death?
Yeah, that's what it means. There must be somebody who knows. That's why after the death, they pronounced that he had because they
he was
buried.
They say he was buried immediately. So
they didn't test his corpse. So they must have known.
So if they knew, why did they handle him that way?
No.
If they knew what happened to the fact that we don't give the dead bodies to the families, what happened to we will dispose of the bodies appropriately. What happened to all those rules they set as guidelines?
You see, I said it when Bakari died, and those rules were breached. It means there's going to be...
The rules are for people like you and I.
Of course. So the issue now is that anybody that is up there a little, finish. As he dies, they'll bury him and then talk whatever. It's unfortunate because
it is.
You see...
you see the high figures pouring in from Lagos each time NCDC publishes new cases.
In that estate, there's danger. Also, in fact, they should go there for...
I know the funny thing, now that people will hear that, you have people within that estate who want to move out. And they may be positive.
Of course. And they will move out and then move people in the new estate.
Emmanuel. It's not supposed to be funny.
Of course, it's not funny.
He said they'll move out and move people in.
They'll move out and then move fresh people into COVID.
Oh, dear me. All right, let's move on to the next story. BUA BOA releases funds to various COVID-19 interventions. It says the BOA Foundation, the philanthropic arm of BOA Group, today announced that it has released 300 million naira to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 to aid logistics and operations of the task force, in line with the earlier pledge of the founder and chairman, Abdul Samad Rabiu. The foundation also announced that it has released the cash sums of 500 million naira to the following states today: 100 million naira to Kwara, Kaduna, Ekiti, Rivers, and a sum of 200 million naira to Lagos State, distinct from the 1 billion naira health infrastructure intervention grants provided to equip a permanent health facility in Lagos. These new contributions are also in addition to BOA's earlier disbursement of 1 billion naira to the CA COVID Private Sector Coalition and 1 million naira each to Sokoto, Ogun, and Edo states, as BOA, that's BUA, continues to champion the fight against the virus in Nigeria. In his comments, Abdul Samad Rabiu said it was important that private sector steps in to support the country where possible in combating the virus and its attendant effects. Also speaking at the announced 3 billion naira health infrastructure intervention grant for Kanu and Lagos states, Abdul Samad said BUA Foundation is working closely with the Presidential Task Force, NCDC, and other stakeholders on how best to deploy these funds to immediately equip the selected facilities in Kano, especially, and Lagos within the next few weeks, I beg your pardon. I think he's been doing it for this BUA guy.
He's been doing a lot
He
of
has.
philanthropy because I can't remember exactly the.
Have you drive you?
No, the one I saw, he also donated
1
before.
billion earlier. He had done 1 billion to the COVID presidential task force.
Yes.
He has done another 1 billion.
Good, that's what I'm saying. The other one. So it shows that truly he's not well.
And he's making 100.
Close-fisted.
No,
He's not.
he's making 100 million each to states. He's made to Kwara, Kaduna, Ekiti,
Good.
Rivers, and then but Lagos got 200. I want to ask why is Lagos getting more than us, but I'll leave that for him. It's his money.
Ask that question.
Sokoto, I put it. Sokoto, Ogun, and Edo states. I would wish that we have a lot of private sector people who would do this, but then how many private sector people are as comfortable as the BOA group?
No, you see, there are some of them. The Dangote group, are they not comfortable?
Yeah, but Dangote too has been doing his.
1 billion, and that's where it ends.
So you want to remove? You want to remove all his billions?
No, we are just saying that this BUM guy is somebody that is open-minded.
Yeah, it seems so.
You see, I'm not sure he's not richer than Dangote.
Well, he's not the richest man in Africa.
Thank you very much. So,
all right,
you continue in the good work you are doing.
And I'm glad that at least the River State featured there. We got 100 million.
Yes.
Moving on, headsmen operate from 30 camps in Delta states, in Delta Forest. It says investigations by Vanguard has revealed that over 86 persons have been killed with hundreds maimed following invasions of different Delta state communities in recent years. Operating in over 30 camps in the Delta Forest, the criminal headsmen have kidnapped and tortured many individuals they could lay their hands on and extorted ransoms from their victims' families and associates in the state. It was gathered that once they struck, the victims are immediately whisked away and concealed in locations inside the camp.
Well, it's unfortunate that Delta state governments and federal authorities are hearing this. It looks like there's no war, but the Delta state is under siege by the herdsmen, and they allow that to continue. Whatever made them not to give much attention that it deserves, they know. But I want to believe that if government of Delta state should mount requisite pressure on federal government, something could come in a change. I don't know why the herdsmen will come as perhaps terrorists. Federal government do not see them as terrorists, and that's why they keep on killing people and maiming people and kidnapping people. It's unfortunate.
You know, it's rather sad that when you look to maybe the southern part of Nigeria and where you hear a lot of these incidents, Delta State features prominently. You know, I know we have cases of headsmen attacking or maiming other people within the larger region. But Delta State, I don't know how many times I see Delta State in the news with this same issue. And, you know, what I thought was that because they're so prominent in this issue, I mean, it's always Delta State. Something has happened in one community in Delta State that will have perhaps been the state that the federal government will use to set an example that we are championing the course in ending this sort of issues around the length and breadth of Nigeria. If you're doing anything else, I would think the first place you want to show that this is your plan to stop this surge will be Delta State.
That is the truth. One will think, and what we think doesn't matter, but what exactly is executed finally. But I want to believe strongly that the collaboration of federal government and Delta State could do something, but there's no collaboration at all. And once Delta State now rises to say, let us form something in the like of Amoteku, it will be pronounced illegal.
Headsmen operate from 30 camps, according to the Vanguard. It says it was their investigation revealing that over 30 camps in Delta State, in Delta Forests. Well, they said this was over the years. It's no matter how many years it has been, it's still a sad story. U.S. says remdesivir shows clear-cut effect in treating coronavirus COVID-19 patients on the antiviral remdesivir recovered more than 30% faster than those on a placebo. The results of a major clinical trial showed Wednesday as a top U.S. scientist hailed the drug's clear-cut benefit It represents the first time any medication has shown to improve outcomes against the COVID-19 illness, which has claimed more than 200,000 lives globally and brought the world economy to a grinding halt. Anthony Fauci, who oversaw the investigation, told reporters at the White House the data shows that remdesivir has a clear-cut, significant and positive effect in diminishing the time to recovery. He added that the trial was proof that a drug can block this virus and compared the finding to the arrival of the first antiretrovirals that worked against HIV in the 1980s, albeit with modest success at first. A statement by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases that Fauci heads said the patient on the drug had 31% faster time to recovery than those on the placebo. Specifically, the median time to recovery was 11 days for patients treated with remdesivir, compared with 15 days for those who received a placebo, it said. The results also suggested that people who were on the drug were less likely to die, although the difference was not huge. The mortality rate was 8.0% for the group receiving remdesivir versus 11.6% for the placebo group. The trial began on February 21st and involved 1,063 people across 68 locations in US, Europe, and Asia. So these are the effects, though. It reduces recovery time. There's a clear-cut effect that this helps in recovery, but it's not as if it is a vaccine against COVID-19. But he says this shows that indeed there can be a drug that can block the virus.
I think it's a good progress because in the midst of a global search for the cure, and then we find this particular one, is a mighty progress, I tell you, because if you check that, I think they said, is it placebo or whatever?
Yeah,
that they've also been testing that any slight gap of improvement is truly something that we should be happy about. Whatever be the case, let them have that as a milestone they've recorded. And then the search continues because there may be another invention. But let them not forget Madagascar.
Madagascar should not be forgotten. I agree with you, Madro. No matter the remdesivir,
yes,
let's not forget Madagascar.
Because they are talking about remdesivir now. They are not talking about Madagascar at all because for
it's
them
Madagascar.
It's not scientific.
Yeah, it's Madagascar. Federal government disburses 43.416 billion naira to 24 states under SFTAS. It says here the federal government has disbursed the sum of 43,416,000,000 to 24 states of the Federation through performance-based grants under the World Bank-assisted States Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Program for Results. Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this in a statement issued by Mr. Hassan Dodo, the Ministry's Director of Press and Public Relations in Abuja yesterday. SFTAS is wholly financed with a loan of $750 million from the International Development Association, a member of the World Bank Group. Mrs. Ahmed said the eligible states were selected on the basis of results achieved in 2018 under the performance assessment. She explained further that the disbursement followed the participation of the 24 eligible states in the recent annual performance assessment carried out by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation as the independent verification agent in collaboration with a third-party firm, JK Consulting Limited, the SFTAS Program Coordination Unit. The SFTAS program was established by the federal government with a concessional World Bank loan to support states to enhance their capacity to achieve the disbursement-linked indicators, which are the program results. Under the program, $700 million was for the provision of performance-based grants to states and technical assistance in the sum of $50 million. According to the minister, the DLIs are derived from the country's 22-point fiscal sustainability plan and 14 open government partnership commitments aimed at strengthening fiscal transparency, accountability, and sustainability across all the states of the Federation. She reiterated that the World Bank-assisted SFTAS program was principally to strengthen fiscal management at the state level so as to ensure effective mobilization and utilization of financial resources to the benefit of their citizens and in a transparent, accountable, and sustainable manner, thereby reducing fiscal risks and encouraging a common set of fiscal behaviors. Mrs. Ahmed observed that the SFTAS program couldn't have come at a better time than now, given the dwindling government revenue occasioned by oil price volatility, coupled with the current impact of COVID-19, which has further intensified the need for improved practices in fiscal transparency, accountability, sustainability, as enunciated in the SFTAS deals. On the eligibility criteria, the minister said the states had to meet in order to be eligible to receive any grants, include online publication of the approved annual budget. Oh dear. Audited financial statements for the previous year. 24 states were said to have achieved improved financial reporting and budget reliability, increased openness and citizens' engagement in the budget process, improved cash management and reduced revenue leakages through implementation of strict treasury single account, strengthened internally generated revenue collection, biometric registration and bank verification number used to reduce payroll fraud. Others are improved procurement practices for increased transparency and value for money, strengthened public debt management and fiscal responsibility framework, improved clearance and reduction of stock of domestic expenditure arrears, and improved debt sustainability. You know, with all the criteria listed out, Emmanuel, I would think no state is eligible.
No, let's not be hasty.
I would think so, Emmanuel.
Let's not be. You see, the situation, the picture looks the way you have just concluded. But, they said they will come.
Improved.
No, that the states will be invited or so. Something like that is mentioned.
Yes.
To test, as it were, to see every qualification, whether they will scale through. But until they go, let's just leave it to them.
They are already beneficiaries.
Oh, okay.
There are 24 states. They said 24 states have scaled through. And I'm saying, from what I see here, no state is eligible.
Okay. I still want to give them the benefit of
How? Are you saying that here within Nigeria, we have states who their online publication of approved annual budget is available, audited financial statements for the previous year, and the 24 states are also said to have achieved improved. Well, it's not as if it is the best, but they said they have improved. They have improved their financial reporting and budget reliability, increased openness and citizens' engagement in the budget process, improved cash management and reduced revenue leakages through implementation of state treasury single account, strengthened internally generated revenue collection, biometric registration and bank verification number used to reduce payroll fraud. Others are improved procurement practices for increased transparency and value for money. You know, I know they're saying increase. So, like if you are in level 1, last time you're in 1.4.
Yeah.
You're in 1.3. But I'm saying there should be a benchmark. So if you're in 1, you must have hit 5 before you're giving this.
If you give a benchmark, all of them will stay where they are.
But that's what we should do, Emmanuel, because we want to make sure that this money is because they are loans.
They are certainly. But what I'm thinking is that let's say they all converge and none meets up those targets. And that means all of them will go back and the money will be given back.
They should give it back to the
donor.
IDA, yes. The IDA should hold that money. If they're unable to meet it, why give them? Because the truth is that we're tired of loans being collected by various governments, federal governments, state governments, and then nothing is done with it. The 24 states that benefited are
transparency
Abia.
Angle. Abia, yes.
Adamawa, Bauchi, Benue, Delta, Edo, Ekiti, Enugu, Gombe, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Kogi, Kwara, Niger, Ondo, Ogun, Oyo, Oshun, Sokoto, Taraba, and Yobe states. So all these states, it's not involved. All these states, Emmanuel, are supposed to have been able to have passed this criteria.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no.
You see, when Oju Zokalo was there, you remember one time I said Oju Zokalo was the best governor so far in Abia.
In Abia.
Yes. This
criteria
guidelines, the transparency in terms of financial transactions and all that, he was publishing them. Whatever happens with the ones they were later accused of best leg and all that is different. But he was publishing them to the effect that people now were very happy with Ojuzo's administration in terms of transparency. I wouldn't know after that one. But since Abia still made the list there. That means maybe they have continued in that same routine. Let's have it that way. But to have transparency 100%, I do not think anyone has 70. I don't think so. But then, let's see whether they will give them the money or not.
I hear the highest state there was Kaduna State with about 3 point something billion. And the lowest states were Katsina. And Benue with 514 million. But I don't see any of these states meeting that mark. I think that just seeing an improved method
I think
of doing this is
will
not...
also try the way he behaves.
Well, I think for Erufai, yes, you might think there's a lot of transparency in a few things he does. But I'm still worried.
I said, 100%, even 70, no. I'm telling you. But if they give them, fine. If they don't, fine.
All right. You also have in the Vanguard newspaper, COVID-19 economy reopens after 6 weeks. This is what the federal government is saying. COVID-19 economy reopens over 6 weeks, federal government. It says here the federal government has released a list of updated guidelines in the wake of its decision to ease the lockdown imposed on the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos and Ogun states as part of emergency control measures against the spread of coronavirus. Government's action came yesterday as the World Health Organization, WHO, Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, and the nurses on the front line in the fight against the virus warned against easing lockdown, saying the pandemic was not over yet. Or was not yet over. But the federal government said the gradual reopening of the nation's economy will span a period of 6 weeks. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, said this yesterday at the daily briefing of the task force. On his part, the Minister of Health, Dr. Sage Hanare, announced that the ministry has directed its relevant departments to collaborate with the research institutions to develop a homegrown solution to the pandemic. Now they want to dear me. Also, Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, Dr. Chikwe Kweazu, said he would not join issues with Kogi state government regarding the efforts of the state in guarding against the outbreak of COVID-19 in the state. According to Yekwazu, his position is based on empirical evidence that the scope of COVID-19 pandemic cannot readily be ascertained without adequate testing. Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Sadia Omar Farouk, explained the inability of the government to reveal the identities of those who benefited from its palliatives, saying it was not only against the norm, but also below human dignity to do so.
Well, I think whatever be the case, government as is working to maybe ease the restrictions and all that played because of COVID-19, I think it should continue in that same way. Once you are making sure that a virus is not ravaging and killing people, remember also that freedom that could put food on the table for people also is in a big state of death of humans. But when you, because of that virus, you block off everywhere, I tell you, it is not all that palatable for humans, especially those who do not have. And our society in this country falls under that. But I do not know why we should tighten up the same very strong. It is good, gradually, as they say, whether it's 6 weeks or whatever, let them start small or step by step in easing up the restrictions. Whatever is talking with the Yahaya Bello and all that, those ones are for them. Let's have the
Yahaya Bello says he doesn't have any COVID-19 case. Yegwazu says, well, we haven't done adequate testing to find who is positive and not.
I think Bello should leave the job for Yegwazu.
No, but Emmanuel, again...
No, he has to confirm after their own tests.
I thought they said that the testing will be done with people who, when you're doing contact tracing and people who have symptoms.
Yeah.
So if you haven't had an incident where you need to have a contact tracing in Kogi State, or you haven't had a report of symptoms that warrants your testing, why would you decide to?
Whatever needs 10, Annie, if you give 9 3/4, it won't accept. It needs 10. If Ilhekweazo wants to dump it on Kogi State, let Yahaya Bello send his men to follow them. Let them monitor because there's room for such.
Yes, there is.
If you say that, no, this one has contracted the COVID-19, this and that. No, they won't accept it. It must be proven before them.
In any which case, I don't know whether Yahya Bello is basking on the knowledge that nobody has COVID-19 in Kogi State yet, but I think that would be rather foolish